Hello everyone, welcome to the next episode of the Digital Mittelstand. My name is Can and I am the founder of 360 Digital Transformation, where we help small and medium businesses, so Mittelstand, to optimize, digitalize and automate their business processes. Today I have Daniel Zinner with me. He is such a diverse personality. He is an international HR and communication consultant. Then he's an HHL alumnus. He's an entrepreneur. He is the founder of Zinner Global Mobility. He's co-founder in HR Global, and he is the co-host of Berliner Zinner Podcast with Olaf Mehlhäuser, and he is a lecturer in various universities across Europe. Without any further ado. Hello, Daniel. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Chan. Thanks for having me.
It's
Nice
my
being with you.
pleasure. Yeah, it's my pleasure to have you here. So, can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, so my name is Daniel Zinner. I live in Berlin since 2013. I have grown up in the professional global mobility world, which means expatriate management or dealing with people moving from one country to another. So this led to two companies I'm currently running. One is an international HR management consultancy. So I'm looking at international human resources transformation, which covers technology, culture, and processes. And transformation, like the keyword transformation, requires usually change management and communication. And this is something which is also very close to my heart. So this is why I founded Keats Digital, which is an digital communication agency. So we consult companies on how, for example, to enter the German market, hitting the right words, the right tone, the right texts. So that's what I do. And as for living, I would say. And besides that, I'm very much interested in communication with different types of people. So I'm also a podcast host like you. I run it together with Olaf. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, I'm also in the world of digitization and startup environment. I mean, you're more running in the Mittelstand area. I'm also of course I'm in Berlin. I'm also focused on the startup world, and I'm the co-founder and COO of Noah Mobility, which is a relocation company in the area of HR and legal tech. Yeah, that's what I do in a nutshell. And yeah, and I'm a father of three kids, and I live with my wife and my kids here in Berlin Charlottenburg.
Yeah,
That's to me.
that's great. Thank you for the introduction. And I also said that before in my introduction that you are such a diverse and skilled person. And yeah,
Thanks.
thank you actually for this diverse skill set and bringing that to the digital Mittelstand. But I want to start with the digitalization and Mittelstand. And as an HR expert, you said something very important actually. Digitalization is a change and transformation which starts with people. So, how do you see the digital transformation? That's my first question. A bit generic, but then I narrow it down. No worries.
So you mean the digital transformation in the broader area of Mittelstand in Germany?
That could be a great example as well. Yeah, but also for the startups, from your experience. So
Hmm.
it's about
Yeah,
your experience.
yeah. So I mean, yeah, in my head, I have three different types of industries or companies. So number one, the ones I'm dealing with most is really startups. I don't think they have that many problems in digitizing whatever process in their company. It's just because they are able to build something from scratch. And what you usually do is you automate and you digitize as much as you can. Besides, it's usually tech startups. So I mean, they're very close to tech. And that also brings me to the second point, the whole change concept and transformation requirement. In startups, you don't really see it. It's because the mindset of the people is the one which is required to build and run such type of a company. I'm sometimes surprised about the chaos going on in startups, because it's understandable. So you get the funding, and then there's the investor expectation in fast growth, and it is really a matter of ramping up the project teams and getting the people into the company, and besides really having structured approach on getting the tools and systems in place. So that's about the startups. When it comes to bigger corporates, it's that's I think that's really tricky. I think in terms of digitization, they are already progressed. I mean, it's they have to have systems and technology just to make it efficient, and to be able to run a big empire over the world. But here, I think it's two components which make it tricky. Number one, it's the people mindset and the experience and how ready they are for further digitization, and the knowledge they have and the experience, because that's also something in Germany which is really tricky. Sometimes you have people, they only worked for one company their entire life, and the world has changed massively over the last 10 years alone. So how do you bring these people
Last 2 years.
up to yeah, but, 2 years, 2 years, and then the financial crisis in 2000. So I'm the older generation, so I still know the financial crisis in 2008. Okay, and then also the when the whole digitization started, kind of in the early 20s, or 2000s. That's what I mean. So yeah, it's many things have happened. So I think bigger corporates, they have tools and systems. Focus there is in the transformation process, the people, the mindset, and also the connectivity of systems. They usually have found island solutions, digital solutions for the different functions and businesses, and this makes it really complex. And this is comparable to the startups. It's chaos. So and I think that's where you have to get in, and usually it's big and long lasting projects to get the company really to make it a real shift. When it comes to the Mittelstand, it's really, I think it's a mix of both. I think the Mittelstand, they do have solutions. It's usually based on Microsoft, so it's Excel and Word and different tools, which they call tools, which are not tools. It's just a support, but they can cope with it. And but if they either grow or they expand internationally, then these tools, they don't work. And but I think the Mittelstand has a very practical thinking. They know the problem, but they don't want to invest too much, because especially the Germans, I think they keep the money together and they think about what could be the way, and what's the plan and how can we keep as many systems as possible and integrate them, connect them, and make them work. And I think this could be a problem. This is like going back to the German engineering. You have all these options and solutions ready, or already operating in your company, and you don't fear the change, but you're hesitant to get rid of all that and implement something from scratch on the green field, because you think it's a waste of money. Like that's the Mittelstand denke or thinking. So again, I think the Mittelstand, if you convince them, and if you can really show the case that digitization brings value, they listen to you. They will invest, but they want this thing to be implemented in 3 months or in 6 months and not 2 years. And I think that's also very honorable of the Mittelstand. I'm generally speaking, okay. I think these guys, they take very much care of their employees. So there's always a change process connected to it, to take the employees with you in this project and to keep them. I think the hire and fire mentality, like in the US, for example, is not here.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good. So you keep your talent, you keep your people, and man, this guy has been working for us for 3 years or 30 years. And maybe he's not up to speed with what's required, but let's not fire this person, even though it's not possible really, because you usually have the workers' council. But no, let's educate this person. Let's communicate with this person or this group of people and bring them with us to the next level. So I think that's in a lengthy monologue my view on digitization of the three different types of companies we see in Germany.
I didn't want to interrupt because you started with the startups, then go to corporates, and then in the middle. So you talked about Mittelstand. The structure was so good that I didn't want to interrupt. And that brings us to a very good start of the conversation about digitalization and Mittelstand. But before I jump into that, you said, I think, something very valuable about, you said, they don't hire and fire, they keep their employees, which they in turn, they benefit from that. I recently read an article about Mittelstand companies actually were growing in the time of crisis, even in the corona crisis, because they keep their employees and they try to produce more instead of like Lufthansa getting rid of 10,000 people as it's a number. So I'm not here to go into this comparison, but it's a very valid point. Because they value and educate their employees, Mittelstand were able to grow in the time of crisis. And actually, majority of the Mittelstand is Familienunternehmer. So that feels like also a family. But HR processes, they are not very different for startups. They are not very different for corporates. They are not very different for Mittelstand. They are basically, onboarding, searching for talent. So can you give us some digitalization of HR processes in general? Because I think that's applicable almost companies from all sizes, because you are an HR expert.
And here I have a different opinion. An HR process is one part of the whole HR organization, or the added value and people and culture / HR department should bring to the organization. So again, if we talk about startups, for example, the mindset of these employees is usually totally different to the mindset of employees working for a family company in the Mittelstand. So one trend, it's a logic trend in HR is, of course, digitization of processes, employee experience, self-service, this kind of stuff. Now, the experience I make, if you go to the Mittelstand and you talk about self-service, it's harder to implement. Why? Employees, they got used to the treatment of their leadership, and they got used to the power of the workers' council. And in these companies, it's usually seen that it's HR admin who runs like the core processes, like paying the salary and getting the people in and fire the people. But when it comes to I'm as an employee, I have to give back, or I have to do a certain process on my own, like downloading the Payslip. This is where it sometimes starts, where it's getting tricky.
Yeah,
of course.
But sorry, but my question is purely about the processes. But so the processes are right, and you gave a great example, right? Downloading the Payslip. So this is a great digitalization example.
Yeah, but you cannot imagine there are still companies out there in Germany. They have a paper payslip, and it's a big deal to change from paper to digital version. Of course, the employees don't want it, or the workers' council don't want it, and this is what you need to overcome. So again, it's about the mindset and the thinking, and also the culture you have in your company. So I think we all agree. You have processes; they have to be digitized as much as possible. But especially in the area when it comes to people, and people make it. People are the main asset of a company, and whatever thinking your employees have, or whatever treatment they have received in the past, you cannot change it. You can change it, but you cannot change it like a process. So digitizing the payslip process is a matter of, I don't know, if you want, it's a matter of one day, because you just select a new provider and you run it from the next day onwards. If you take the bigger picture, not just the process, but who should the process serve? The process should serve the people. These people, maybe they don't, they still want their paper payslip. Maybe they don't, they still want their paper payslip, because they got used to it. They want the envelope with the thing, they want to open it and they want to see the figure. So and how do you want to change that if the majority of the people don't want it? It's just, what I mean is, when it comes to people related processes, you need to take time, and you need to communicate, and you need to engage, and you need to get the buy-in. So the pure process implementation, easy, you can do it. But talking to the people and getting their buy-in, that's the main challenge. And I think especially in the Mittelstand.
But that's a great point, and I would like to elaborate on that. Let's assume that I am a Mittelstand manager, that I want to digitalize my payslip, and I already have the provider or at least something in my mind. But how should I start to change in my people as an HR and communication expert? How should I trigger this change?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, as a consultant, what I usually do is you need to come up with a business case for senior management, for the leadership. You need to explain to them why it's good to digitize. Sometimes you need to explain it to them. But yeah, I mean, I think everyone knows digitization is good. It's efficient. It saves money. That's what senior management usually knows. But then you have to also consider in the options you provide, what kind of impact will this change have on the process, on money, on risk, and on people. And when you talk about the people section, this is where it's getting complex. This is where you really need to work with the HR department, and you need to get a feeling on how is the culture, what is the readiness, what is the level of understanding, what is the mindset of our people. And that's usually, you get it usually with these surveys, or also depending on what your communication is, like the standard is in your company, you have a feeling for that. And once you have mapped all that, you have to develop a plan. And if your analysis shows they are not ready, the people, because they got pampered over the last 50 years with a paper payslip, then you need to start a campaign, and you need to start a project. You need to tease them. You need to talk to the people and prepare them for a change. And you need to kind of, in workshops, for example, you need to make them believe or think that whatever you came up with is their idea and it's great. And yes, the PDF version, which I get via email, is much better than getting the envelope. And that's just another thing. Not everyone has an email account. So you cannot provide the PDF via email, or not everyone has a computer. So if I look at the production sites, these people have no computer. Maybe they don't have an email account. So how do you want to provide the PDF and payslip? So it's questions like that which you need to consider, and where with a big process of digitization, you need to be ready to have a side process in place on an exception. So easy like that.
But very valuable insights. Thank you. And with the teasing part, actually, it could be a good initiation point to convince all of the stakeholders, in this case, employees, shop floor workers, to involve and take part in the process. Is great. Very valuable insights. But right now, I would like to slightly go into direction of one of your expertise, that is international talent. So do you think should Mittelstand start looking at international talent options? It's a rhetorical question, but
yeah, I think it's not a question whether this is an option. I think for many companies it's just a necessity. I mean, looking at Germany, we have this demographic change. We have a population which is getting older and older, which means either they are not able to work anymore, or they don't have the skills required for nowadays business operations. So I think this is one step, or one area where companies, they have no other option. They have to look somewhere else and get the talent on board. And secondly, I think, and that's more strategic HR consulting, I'm a big supporter of diversity, international diversity in this regard. I mean, there's different layers of diversity, age diversity, gender diversity, all this diversity, but especially the international diversity, I think, can really help corporates or companies to increase their creativity and also then generate more ideas and innovation, becoming more innovative. Of course, you have all these like when you get international talent on board from wherever in this world, doesn't matter. Chances are very high that you get a very totally different perspective on problems or on requirements, and merging these different perspectives from a German point of view, but also maybe a Turkish point of view, or the countries in Africa or the US, with different cultural backgrounds and different mindsets. I think this really helps. So two points, yes, for the German companies. Number one, in order to fight the talent shortage, you need to look beyond borders. And in general, strategically speaking, diversification of your workforce internationally will increase, and it's proven by studies. It will increase productivity, creativity, idea production, innovation.
Okay, let's assume that again I am a Mittelstand manager and I'm convinced about international talent. Should I be spending my time on LinkedIn giving advertisements, or should I go to no consulting?
Keats Digital, for example, yeah, that's one of my companies. It's communication. Yes, I mean it's like going on LinkedIn is one option. But I think it really requires like a more strategic approach. So what's the communication strategy of the company? What's the branding of the company? How do you want to be seen? Where do you want to be seen? What are the values you're representing? You need to put yourself into the shoes of potential applicants, where they find you on social media, for example, which channel they're hanging around, what values they would like to they could connect with, which type of industry or company they want to work for. So these are all influencing factors. You as a leader or manager in your company, you need to consider, you need to make a plan, like you need to develop a strategy. So first step is, yes, I'm ready to tap on the global market for talent sourcing. Good. Number two is, okay, who am I as employer? What is my key proposition? What are my USPs? And then I need to think about, okay, what are people outside of Germany who don't know my company necessarily? First of all, how do they find me? And secondly, will they like what we do? And would they therefore connect with us? So that's what you need to sort out. And then you go into the more operational piece. Once you found out where you can source or who you would like to source, you go on the different crawlers, for example, the different platforms where these talents are registered, or where they are most likely to engage with you. That would be my suggestion for the beginning. Makes sense?
Yes, and it gives a clear direction to which steps I should follow, not instead of starting from the end and giving advertisements. Before that, you should be doing A and then B and then go with these steps or higher.
Yeah, maybe one example, John. That was this company, Mittelstand. They heard about Indeed, which is this platform for talents, and Indeed is pretty big, and they charge quite a lot for like a monthly fee to put out your job posts and job advertisements. And yeah, this money was spent. It ran like 6 months, and no single person was taken on to the company via this channel. Why? There was no clear positioning of the company in first instance. Also, not what are our values, what do we stand for, who are we, what's our culture, why should people actually like to work for us? So people don't go for the job advertisement looking for software engineer. No, I mean, it's like millions of companies looking for that. It's more, yeah, we are the coolest company. We offer like green space for the family. Just move here to Germany in the middle of nowhere because it's perfect for your family. I think these are just a couple of examples which you need to think about, like strategically, and this is what you need to invest your money in first to make the money you spend on operations valuable. Yeah.
That's a great tip. Actually, I was about to ask my last question. What's your top suggestion for Mittelstand owners or managers to apply right away? But just before that, you gave a great suggestion. However, I still want one more suggestion from you.
Yeah, I think what I especially like about the Mittelstand is this permanent drive of action and get the stuff done and don't just talk about it. That's good. I think it's good because so it's not like in corporates you create big projects and then it takes 3 years and the outcome is kind of sometimes zero. Of course, the leadership has changed in the meantime. But but for the Mittelstand, I think the suggestion I would give is, especially in Germany, really, that this is really what's bugging me for the last 10 years. Do listen to consultants. Consultants, they don't always want to rip you off, and I mean, that's the experience the German Mittelstand made, I think, in the past. It's as you said at the beginning, there are these strategy consultants coming in, and they tell you about the perfect world in 6 months, and then they leave the 500-page analysis and concept paper, and then no one can read it. It's in English,
and say bye
and say goodbye, and then okay, yeah, next one, and you spend 50,000 euros on that. So that's not. I understand that that's not cool, but I think the whole consulting world has changed in Germany over the last years. We have so many bright talents calling themselves consultant, and they have digital skills, and they have business case creation skills, and they have the wish to accompany a company in a longer process and not just sell the high-priced strategy consultancy. So I think please listen to consultants. I mean, select carefully, ask around, yeah, who's good in a certain area and who has proven to be able to come up with a strategy, but also manage the implementation. So that's very important in a certain period of time. So that would be my advice. And I think if you get external support for a certain period of time in your company at a higher cost as an employee, fully understandable, but this is how you will move into the more agile approach, getting things done step by step continuously, and you will see results, definitely, which you will not see if you use only your own staff, which is with you for 10, 20 years, which is okay. It's stability, but it doesn't mean change, which is required right now. So that would be my advice. Yep.
Thank you for your suggestion, Daniel. And yeah, for last 2 years, I would say, even last year by itself showed us how change can rapidly and drastically affect our daily business life. But thank you so much. Thank you for your insights, very valuable suggestions and tips. But before we close, how people can find you?
I mean, number one, my website, zinner.io. From there, you will be guided in my world of consulting, or on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is my main communication tool, I would say, and Xing for the Germans. I'm still there, but I'm passively active there. I would say I'm the LinkedIn communicator, and on my website, zinner.io. Yes.
Okay, I will put all the links to the description as well. But thank you, Daniel. Thank you again for this great talk. As usual, I enjoyed it so much and I learned from you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, John. See you next time.
Ciao.
Bye.
I release one episode every Tuesday at 7:45 a.m. and also other videos for digital transformation. If you like the content, please subscribe, and you can reach me out anytime by my email. Here it is. And thank you for visiting my channel.